The vertical self-service center is a huge closed structure with 333 floors. It houses 665 people who are forced to share 664 meals a day. At first glance, it seems that the point of the experiment is simply to demonstrate social inequality, but what if there is more to it? Maybe it's not just a social experiment, but a test of survival in an environment where resources are limited. What if humanity has to send the first colonists to another planet because Earth will be uninhabitable in 23 years? But humans have not been able to solve the problem of long-distance flight, nor have they been able to create cryosleep capsules, nor have they been able to create a substance that can put humans into a state of stasis. Sleeping gas causes hallucinations and food would be limited in space. How will colonists deal with resource allocation and the effects of prolonged isolation? Perhaps there is more to this experiment than meets the eye. This is the Good Movies channel. My name is Eugene, and we have today's movie dialogue parsing platform. I promise it will be interesting. I'll start. So, I think we should start with all the available information and details we could gather from the two movies. The first and most important detail is the participants and the setting. We have a huge tower with 333 floors. On each floor, except the last one, there are always two participants at the beginning of the new month. A platform of food comes down from the top, and each floor gets access to the food on a first-come, first-served basis. Those at the top may or may not take as much as they want, leaving or not leaving food for those at the bottom. Each month, participants in the pit are moved to a random floor. This is an important part of the experiment. People can end up at either the top or the bottom level. If one month they are lucky enough to be at the top and receive enough food, the next month they may be at the bottom and face starvation. Before beginning their long confinement in the pit, each person is interviewed to choose their favorite food, which will later be added to the platform, and everyone is allowed to bring one item with them. At first glance, it seems that everyone is on an equal footing, but they're not. First of all, there's only one person on the last 333rd floor, and it's always a kid who's not being interviewed. He has a different challenge. It is somewhat similar to the game King of the Mountain. In the original, it is called Pyramid. In the beginning, the kids play, get along with each other, but after a while, there's a battle for leadership, and the winner is rewarded, if you can call it that. The administration picks a winner and puts him or her alone on the 333rd floor. That's why I said there are 665 people in the tower. Also, the kid doesn't get to choose the food, so there's only one. There is always not enough food on the platform. Even if everyone eats their portion, the child will still be hungry. Later, I will explain these scenes in more detail and give the answer to why Maharu appeared in them. Yes, it's the crazy mother from the first movie, only it turns out that this girl is not her daughter. But for now, let's get back to the platform itself. The second important detail, the lights and sound. You've probably noticed that the movement of the platform from top to bottom is accompanied by a sound signal. There are two lights on the wall, red light, no platform, green light, ready to eat. As night falls, the light also changes from cool to warm, from blue to red. The sound signal is similar. Nevertheless, the administration cares about its subjects. They create the same conditions for everyone as much as possible. How can a blind man understand that the platform has come down to his floor? There's a buzzer, of course. How does a deaf person know that the waiting time is over? There's obviously a green light. When night falls, the red lights come on all levels. This allows the person in the pit to accurately count the number of days and distinguish day from night. The third detail, food. Every day, starting from the first level, a platform with food goes down the floors. On it are the meals that the pit inmates have chosen for the interview. There are 664 meals in all. We are cleaning the top floor with a child who did not participate in the interview and is not entitled to food. I tried to count all the food, the amount of empty dishes, bottles, and fruit. I even used artificial intelligence. And indeed, there are over 600 bowls on the platform, but it's not enough. Even if everyone eats their portion, one person, I mean a child, will still starve. The only way out is to take turns sacrificing your portion and leaving it for the resident on the last floor. But the reason isn't even that. It's that no one knows how many levels there are. And on the lowest level, there is a person who has been left to starve to death by the system. Besides, if everyone strictly eats only his own, as the law controlled by the anointed Dagenbabi dictates, that person would not be able to survive anyway. Eating only one type of food for a long time will lead to nutritional deficiencies. A varied diet is necessary to maintain health, including all food groups, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. So the law must be completed. Fourth detail, gas. At the end of each month, a sedative gas enters the tower. It's needed to reset the pit. It gives the caretakers an interval in which they have time to change people's floors. One-Handed says she suspects a variation of sevoflurane is used. This drug is used for inhalation anesthesia. It belongs to a group of third-generation anesthetics that are widely used in medical practice. It is most often used to maintain general anesthesia, taking into account that at 2100 hours the gas is let in at the level, and at 900 hours everyone wakes up. Then the duration of sleep of a person is 12 hours. Therefore, prolonged use of such a substance 12 hours is a very long time will cause serious effects. Dizziness, seizures, muscle dysfunction, nausea, vomiting, and coughing, which we see only in Zamyatin. The toxicity should be irreversible, so we can't say for sure it's sevoflurane. It's most likely some other gas since there are no visible physical side effects. But here's the thing about mental disturbances. As early as the second month, both Parimpuan and Goring have clear hallucinations. They see their dead cellmates. The three Gamasi follow Goring all the way to the pit. Of course, this is the effect of two factors, the side effect of the gas and all the horror our main characters have experienced. We can't say for sure that everyone in the pit is hallucinating, but even the fact that two previously healthy people are hallucinating makes us question the gas. It is most likely a variation of anesthesia, just as the law of the anointed requires refinement. Fifth detail, the rules, and there's only one. The platform descends to the level and stops for 1 minute 30 seconds. During this time, the floor dwellers must eat their portion of food. When the platform moves down, no one is allowed to leave food on the floor. This will be severely punished. On floors with paired numbers, such as 48, the temperature will rise to unbearable levels as long as food is left on the floor. If the person does not get rid of it, they will burn. On even numbered floors, the temperature drops until the person is reduced to ice. This alternation of fire and cold is an enforced measure. For example, if the temperature increases on 3 levels in a row, let's say all 3 have left food, a chain reaction can occur. The platform at this point is still moving and creating air pressure. Therefore, neighboring levels can be affected. The fire and cold sequence excludes the death of the innocent. Food cannot be left behind, and this is the main rule that is strictly observed, and for violations of the administration, the offender is necessarily punished. But there is a strange detail. At level 333, this general rule does not work. At the end of the last movie, the heroes left the panna cotta and the kid calmly finished it. Even after the platform descends into the pit, there are no other laws in the center. You can do whatever you want. Kill, rape, go down to other levels. Everything is controlled and created by society, which either makes its own rules or breaks the ones already created by someone else. And yes, I almost forgot, you can't smoke in the building. The sixth detail, the pit. This is probably the strangest thing about this structure, and there are a lot of strangenesses in the movie. Why is the pit so important, and why was it built? We see that there are people living in this huge hall at the very bottom. To get to the pit, you have to go down on a platform that for some reason stops when you reach the bottom. This means that the creators deliberately designed everything so that a person could get to the pit itself. There is simply no other meaning or purpose. The platform could stay at the 333rd floor and then go up, but no, it goes further down, so a person can get to the bottom. The pit is really the only place where a man can survive with minimal risk. Judge for yourself, all the corpses fall down. Almost every day, food arrives there in the form of dead people, sometimes even fried and sometimes frozen. Human flesh is very nutritious, it has everything you need to survive, and at the end of every month when you reload, the platform workers bring down all the corpses that are left on the levels. This means that at least at the beginning of every month, the inhabitants of the lower levels have a feast. That's why at the end of the second movie, we are shown that before Parimpuan and her baby went down there, dozens of people did exactly the same thing. They sacrificed themselves to save the children. Now these people are eternal hostages of the pit, forced to feed on corpses and will die at the bottom. The only thing that breaks this fragile theory is water. You have to drink to live, of course. If water is plentiful on all levels, there's no telling where the pit dwellers are getting it. The seventh detail is zero gravity. In the prequel, we were shown that during the reboot, the maintenance staff cleaned up all the garbage, checked the corpses, and carried people between levels. All this takes place in absolute weightlessness. It is impossible to escape the laws of gravity and inertia on the surface of the Earth. There is only one place where weightlessness is possible, and that is in space. It turns out that this whole huge building is in space, and it's already there that gravity can be created using centrifugal force. The vertical self-service center is in space. There are no other options. I'll be honest with you, Platform 2 completely turned my head about what was going on. I think we need to move on to the second part of the video, the explanation. When I watched the first movie, it was very clear to me. Goring had come a long way to enlightenment. He wanted to break the system and send a message to the administrators with a panna cotta, an unadulterated dish. The panna cotta was meant to have a deep meaning for those at the top who who watch everything. In addition to the creatures and abominations in the pit, there are also people who will always go against the system. When the hero descends to level 333, he sees a girl, but it's actually empty. No children are allowed in the experiment. Remember what Imagiri said? No children, and Mahara just went crazy, so he sees a hallucination. Goring thinks he saved the child, goes down into the pit, and sends a message at the very end, but in reality, he died on the last level and only sent an untouched panna cotta. At the same time, during the whole movie, we were shown a hellish one with a very strict chef who carefully checks all the products and perfects every dish. He doesn't care about people or staff, just the food. Think of what Imagiri calls the pit, a vertical self-service center, a restaurant where diners can truly appreciate every dish the chef creates. The old man has clearly lost his mind, and when the panna cotta reaches the top, the chef sees no message. He thinks no one ate the dish because they found hair in it. There is no good Don Quixote sacrificing himself. There is no meaning, no message, no point. There is only a system that doesn't care about people. It has worked and will continue to work as long as there are those at the top. They will never understand those at the bottom, of course, but the second film breaks it down completely. First of all, Platform 2 is a prequel that takes place about 10 months before Goring gets to the center. In one shot, we see Maharo coming into the pyramid where the kids were playing. She walks past what we thought was her daughter, the girl standing at the bottom. The director intentionally emphasized this to you. Maharo does not react to her daughter in any way because she is not her mother. Of course, maybe Maharo didn't want the administration to find out and deliberately didn't approach her daughter, but the girl didn't react in any way either. If she were really a daughter, the child wouldn't be able to contain her feelings and would definitely run to her mother. But no, it turned out that all of Imagiri's words were true. Miharu came voluntarily. She has neither parents nor children. The girl dreamed of becoming an actress, an Asian Marilyn Monroe. Imagiri also says that she has been working for the administration for 25 years. At 8-7, there is a project she calls a vertical self-service center, and it has 200 levels. She had no idea what was going on, so the poor woman really doesn't know that there are 333 levels in the center, and there is a child on the bottom one. She's not lying about anything else. But how can a pit last for 8 years? We know that there are people who come voluntarily, that is, they heard about the experiment somewhere. There are those who are brought in, for example, Trigomace. He is in the program because he killed a man by throwing his TV out of the window. Zamyatin almost burned down his house where his parents were sleeping. Goring assures that he wants to read the book The Adventures of Don Quixote, and at the same time kick the bad habit of smoking. We have no information if it is possible to get out of the hole, what will happen after the end of the sentence. But we know that every day people die in the center who will not return to their families, and someone had to look for the missing. In such large numbers over 8 years, that's more than 1,000 victims. The administration works for the government. It takes a compelling reason to turn a blind eye to the horror. Perhaps humanity is on the verge of extinction. Flood, explosion, or comet, it doesn't matter. Humans must leave Earth and fly to the nearest living planet, but resources are limited. If the flight takes hundreds of years, for example, sooner or later the food will run out. Yes, it is possible to grow plants on a space station and partially cover the lack of food, but only partially. What if humanity can't create cryosleep capsules? All variations of anesthesia don't work. The gas causes hallucinations, a kind of Pandorum effect. Scientists still argue that stasis is impossible. The human brain can't handle the effects after a long sleep, and in space, mental illness or schizophrenia is a given. It will be necessary to take children on the flight and produce new offspring, and only the next generation will be able to reach a new home. This is only possible if there are heroes among the people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for a child. I don't have any other reasonable explanations for why the center should be built, but if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them in the comments. And that's it for today. See you soon.